right, welcome back to Pixitron, episode 14. We're not quite there yet on the next phase, but I've done so much that I think it's a good time for us to get back together on it and share with you the progress that's been made. So I've got my Git bash open here with npm, and I've got my copy of Atom going with, of course, the lovely source code for the Fireball game being made in Pixitron. We've made some changes, and I hope to remember all of them, but let's just go through and we'll discuss. So I created a client-side validation for email. That way, if it doesn't pass muster, I don't have to use the network. So I use this extensive pattern matching to determine if it's an email address or not. So that's client-side validation. Haven't really made any changes to dialogues that are of any significance other than we added the ability to optionally display a title bar. I needed that for the terms of use and the privacy policy, which I'll show you in a moment. What else is going on? I added a title sequence. So in the background before, you saw a picture of Pixie JS showing some bunnies, and that's still going on in the background, but in front of that I've placed a div that's a layer that allows you to display a movie, and I pick a movie randomly. So let me find where that is. So there's a mute button if you wanted to mute the title sequence, and that's done using a button function. If you remember from last episode, we added button, which just installs a button on a button and allows you to express what the button is going to do in an efficient manner. So what we do here is for the mute button, it determines if it's muted already, and if it's not muted, it mutes it, and then it changes the font awesome icon from mute to up, or from up to mute, depending. And the volume up icon looks like a speaker with stuff coming out of it, and then there's mute. And that's because there's some, I wouldn't call it obnoxious, but there's some music that is automatically playing in the beginning, and some people may find that offensive to the eardrums. So it is mutable, because during that period when that music's playing, you can edit your profile and set up your game. So it may be more appropriate to mute that occasionally. In addition to that, we've created the sign up. And there's a couple of little things that aren't really done with the sign up that I'll be getting to today after this video. But what we have done is create and verify on the back end the username sign up, email confirmation, and all of that. And this is the button that does that. And it also, similar in the way that the password entry would give you, invalid username, this also gives you some feedback if there's an issue, like username already there. And I've created a on-click event for a link button that will allow you to request a reminder email for your username based on your email address. So that will be something that I'll be adding a little bit later today as well. But the link is there, it just doesn't work yet. And that requires me to create a really simple backend thing. But I'm having trouble receiving emails still, even though I use the right mail function call. I still could not get it to actually receive the email, and I'm not entirely sure why that is. So I have to look into that and to see why that is. And I've checked my spam folder and all of that, and it just isn't showing up. So I'm going to have to look into that. And it's strange to me that it wouldn't work, and I'll look into that in a moment. Okay, so what else? Not much. I think it's time to take a look at it. Here's where it randomly selects from one of 4 videos and picks them at random. I think the next video, aside from wrapping up login sequence, I did add a tab for Steam API. So if you don't want to sign in, if you don't want to sign up to the Lost Astronaut account, you can avoid that simply by either playing offline or using your Steam account. So I've added a tab for that. That's not working yet, but there is a Steam API wrapper for Node.js, and we'll be able to use that in Electron. And now that we have a Steam app ID for Fireball, we will be able to tie that directly into the Steam. Yeah, so things have actually, I'm really happy with the way they shaped up. A lot of the work was not actually writing code. I worked a lot on the videos. They're all sort of based on the same source material, but each one is slightly different, cut differently. I used basically public domain sources for military like short snippets, and I did a lot of video processing on them to make them appropriate to this game. So it looks pretty cool. I'll give you a little demo of that. I'll mute it after a moment, and then we'll take a look at the create new user. So this is one of the 4 videos, and we've got some footage from like cell phone cameras, from like war footage, stuff that's been released and doesn't have really active copyrights on them. And it's in a collage, and I don't know that fair use is really a plausible argument these days, but I feel like this footage is, being shot by people who, are in other countries, and it's just something that I've seen a lot on YouTube. So some of this stuff is from that source, but anyway, it's kind of cool. I did an edge detection algorithm to sort of change the way that these videos look, and I also cropped them. They're very small compared to their original footage, just to kind of get the whole aesthetic. I actually ended up not using cool text, so I'm going to give you another link in the description. I think it was called flamingtext.com. The reason why is because the cool text stuff had a white outline, and this does not. So this is actually, I'm very happy with this. That's working out, and everything looks good here. And this button's working. I can turn it on and off. So kind of a neat little video. Again, this is just the background sequence. So then there's the create account screen, and we've got the ability to create a new account. So I'm just going to make up some stuff here that's not even real, but give it some. I'll use some email addresses that I have already. Let's use the one that's already in use. So lostastronaut@rocketship.com, and then the password. I'll just put in some password. Like that. And in fact, I'll not make them match. So let's click the sign up. So it first checks to see if these two are matching, and if they're not matching, and then it's going to give you a little hassle there. And then if you click sign up and they do match, it tells me that it's already in use, and it knows that it's already in use. And this is that link that I was showing you before, which doesn't do anything yet, but you could click it and then it would say, email sent, something like that. We may or may not have that in the password area here too, so I'm going to add that layer. And that should wrap up our features for that, but we want to then move on to Steam. I don't have this set up yet, but if you were logged into Steam, this would be running in Steam maybe, and so you could use Play with Steam here, and then there's Play Offline. I might add to this screen a way to get to the options menu without having to go through and log in first, or even click play offline first, because there's, no way to set up your controller, and so, the console controller type stuff where you're accessing this stuff. I still haven't written that layer yet, but you'll be able to navigate these different buttons and stuff, and there probably will have to be a pop-up keyboard for the console controller. So there's that as well. So having the ability to access the options is important. I'm also thinking about maybe doing some command line stuff. So when you type npm start and then you type a third thing, that becomes a command line parameter for the executable. And we need to check that to see if people want to start with the title muted, for instance, like it is right now, without it coming up with a bunch of, words and stuff, or music and stuff in the background. So here we have some public domain footage of a exploding nuclear. This is Castle Bravo. So it's a cropped version of that U.S. government video. Works. All right. So what else can we do in here? Well, let's put in a different email address that I know is adequate, but we'll make the password insecure, so you can see it. It does give you a reason for why your password isn't good enough. And once you do enough, you can click sign up, and then it created the user successfully. Now that's not done, although it said that. It really should now bring up the main menu, and so we're going to have to deal with that in the next phase of development. There's also this terms button, which opens up all the legalese that you need, that covers the privacy policy and the terms of service. And that's because people are sharing their personal email addresses with me. And, you can go set up a Gmail. I don't care where the email address comes from. It's really just there to monitor the account. But you have to have all this wording and stuff to protect yourself and to explain to your customers what you're doing with their private email address. But, aside from sending some promotional material or some, account-related correspondence, I don't really plan on doing that much with people's personal data. I don't collect money. It's a free account. And it's just a way to encourage people to buy and play the game with their friends. So we've got Steam and Play Offline. So if you log in, it's going to use your Steam ID. If you use Play with Steam ID, it's going to use your Steam ID, but it's not going to globally rank you. It's just going to give you Steam achievements. And since the game's going to be sold on Steam, there's no reason for us to, there's going to be a little bit of DRM, but I'm not sure yet, because it's also going to be sold on itch and some other places. So I'm not really sure if we're going to require you to have your Steam logged in when you're logging in, but that is something we could check for. And also the Play Offline doesn't work yet. So those are all, but they could work, and maybe that'll be the next phase. But I'm going to wrap up account creation, because even though I created this account just now, I'm still not getting any email in any way, shape, or form. So that's an issue. Now, how would I solve that? Well, one, I'm going to check to see what's wrong with my mail call, my mail function. Excuse me. But in the other case, I could use Mailgun and set up a Mailgun server that has a cert. I'm not sure if I'm ready to do that yet. It requires a little bit of investment. I think it's at least $20 to get a cert, but I think you have to pay actually a lot more than that for a good cert. But there's ways to do that. And then once that's certified, I should be able to send emails that arrive without an issue. But it still doesn't mean they won't end up in spam. And the other option I have is to create a mail server, like using XM4, and put the cert in that server myself. But I think Mailgun's probably going to be the way to go, because you're paying a lot less for that. So that's basically what we've been doing. I'm going to shut this down now, and we're going to go back to the code and take a look at the way that, we're doing our actual coding. So bringing back the atom. Obviously, the next thing I need to make is that remind username. And in fact, I don't think I'm going to actually do that much today on this video. This is it. You've seen it. It's getting there. You can create a new account. We'll just verify that it's there by going into MySQL Workbench and doing a refresh down here, and you can see that I've created a couple of different accounts. Looks like I'm putting a couple of things in the wrong place, so I'm going to have to investigate that as well. So I'll have to blur that out. But it looks like I revealed a password there where I shouldn't have. So I'm going to have to check into that. But, and it's strange that it was able to, well, I guess that's not that strange. Okay, so thanks for watching. It's been a rather quick Pixitron, but there is progress being made. And thank you so much. Support us on Patreon, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.